Alright, let's take a look at the shader mixer. So what I like to do is add in a primitive, like a sphere. Let's make it 3 meters, and I'll just zoom extent. And then while it's selected, I'll also add a sub D. Convert to sub D just to make it more round. Then I'll turn this aux viewport to iRay because I can then use the center viewport for the shader mixer. So let's go ahead and use it this way. So now I've got a preview and I've got my shader mixer area. If you create a new shader, it will actually pre-populate it with kind of a simple tree that you can use. If I hit apply, this is now the material that's being applied. Go to Surfaces, Editor, and you can see the settings here. So we have metallicity, base color, glossy, bump, normal, cutout. So it's pretty simple, and the tiling. It doesn't have the extra stuff we have in the basic, in the Uber shader. It's kind of a more basic shader to get started with that you can use. Now if we go into our presets and apply something complex, like let's apply this car paint chameleon, which uses the metal flakes and all sorts of stuff. We can go into File and say Import from Scene. It'll create a new tab, and this is the Uber shader. You can see a lot more stuff here. These are all the maps, and then this one uses different different components for the glossy, the metal flake, the top coat. So all of these are represented here. You can use the control key and the wheel to zoom in, and the control key and click and drag to move around. So these are the user parameters that are exposed. So you can see there's quite a few here. So you can start off with an existing preset and load it in and then go from there. Or you can start with a new material, which is very basic, but if I hit apply, it's really simple kind of base material. Or you can also use MDL files. So if I go into the folder, you can go into your drive where you have your application installed. Go get the private build, and let's go into shaders, iRay, and in here you have an NVIDIA folder which has all the MDLs. And you also have an AXF folder if you do have these. I'm not sure what the distribution is. If you don't have these, you can always look online. I think there's a few samples at Xrite that you can get them. And these are the analyzed values. So let's go into NVIDIA, and let's grab one. Let's take the carbon composite. And what I'll do is I'll use a new page. Okay, so to load the MDL, what I want to do is clear out one of these. So what you can do is create a new one. You can select everything and X. So you want to start with a blank slate and then drag in the carbon composite or any one of these. And in order to see it, let's go ahead and crank this up to 100%. In order to see it, you need to add an MDL surface. So here I do have it filtered. By default, you have the no filter. I'm filtering to MDL, so this will take out all of the RenderMan stuff, so I can just see the MDL, the material definition language. And in roots, there's MDL surface. So this is the minimum you need. You need to connect it to a surface, and then you can hit apply, and you'll see it right there. Now, if you'll notice there's not a lot of controls here, and that's because these are just kind of the base surface controls. If I want to use user inputs, you can go into the utilities, use a user parameter brick, and if you hold Alt and connect it, it'll connect all of them for you. And then if I hit apply, you'll see it update here with all of these updates. So this uses a few maps. You can see here, there's an orange peel effect, which is that kind of noise that's there. So if you change the size, you can actually see that in the view. Let's go here. It's a little small. Let's crank up the strength there. You can see it there. So there, start changing that. You can see that kind of bubbly effect there. That's that orange peel effect. You make it really small. There we go. I'll go and remove it. And there's this micro roughness, which just kind of makes it a bit more opaque or frosted kind of look. And the index of refraction, how you can see through it. There we go. There's also tiling, and you'll notice that tiling here, texture repetition, is a float. So it didn't connect. So we can go get a float and connect that one. And if we go into MDL's built-in types, there's a float too. So we'll get a 2-input float right here. We need to switch this one to uniform and connect it. If you didn't know to change it to uniform and just had it on varying, it wouldn't connect. You can see that it's blue here and it's not there. If we switch it to uniform, it connects. So that's an easy one to figure out. If it's not connecting, look for this and you'll be able to connect it. And then what we'll do is we'll connect this up here. So I'll take the V, connect it there. I could have used Alt to connect both. And these X and Y aren't very descriptive. You can double click on it and let's call it, let's make this one, I don't know if it's horizontal or vertical, but I'll do horizontal. And then I'll do X tile. And let's set our default to 10. And let's do this one, and we'll do vertical. I can always come and change it if that's not what it is. Tile, and I'll do 10. Oops, sorry, that wasn't my default. That's right here. So 10 and 10. Apply, and there it is. So you'll notice it's actually there's an issue with this MDL where it's more kind of double on the horizontal. So I'll try this one to 20 and hit apply, and now we got a much more square effect. Or if I do 10 and 5, I can change that scaling, and you can see that this is the same size as this now. So I've kind of fixed the issue that was in this material using this. And if I go here, you'll see the X tile and Y tile, these two that we've created. If I wanted to automatically connect them, I could. I could add some math multipliers and numbers and connect it all. But this gives you an idea of using a custom MDL. You need an MDL surface to output it. And if you want to have control over it, you want to put user parameters, and then you can do all sorts of stuff to it, add on to it if you want to. Now if we take a look at our more complex material, right? You could start off with, let's go back in surfaces, presets, apply an Uber. And if you go and load that, import from scene, you'll get the Uber here. And again, this will show you what's being actively used. If I go into the editor and I turn on metal flakes and I turn on top coat and I go grab it again, import from scene, you'll notice there's extra tiles in there. So they're now showing because they're active in here. So if you turn everything on and import, you'll get a nice massive tree of things. And again, if you wanted to modify what's exposed to the user, well, you can delete bricks. You can also go into here, if I don't want to expose backscatter, I could go ahead and delete these values. So you can delete, just get rid of all these backscatter. And now if I go over here, I'll show you before I hit the apply. So backscatter values. Here we go, backscatter weight is here. So if you turn that on, all these backscatter roughness things show up. If I hit apply, that's now gone. Now there's refraction. Go back up here. All the backscatter stuff is gone, and it's now considered a custom material. So you can see that shader here says default because that was the name of this. If I go in and rename this something else. So we go rename this something else, shader name, and I call it super material, except when I apply it, it's now called the super material. So that's how you could go and create your own, or use MDLs or use AXFs. So if we go look at the AXFs, they're over here in, again, in your install folder, shaders, Iray, AXF. If you have them, I'm not sure if they are there or not. I'll pick one of these tabs here. I'll clear it out. Let's grab that AXF. Let's do the basketball, for instance. And the same thing applies here. You need to have a surface. We'll connect that, and I'll hit apply. And this is a basketball shader. So if we zoom in on that, you'll see those little pits that are on a basketball. So maybe the scale's a little off here, but there we go. I'll go into the curve. There you go. It's that basketball kind of surface. And again, to expose the values, user parameters, hold Alt, connect. You'll get all those connections, hit apply, and now you can see everything here. So scale, V, U, etc. So if I do 2, or maybe 10 by 10, I'm not sure how this material is set up, but normal texture strength. There you go, intensity on that. I think it's probably the U and V here. Point. If I do 1 and 1, there's the massive pits with the enhanced texture, normal. So there you go. And you can save these out as files and reload them as well. Just go File, there's Save, Open, Close. That's it.